Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Your Life, Your Voice. My name is Julie and Güler. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Güler Altabis, to this program. Good morning, Güler. How are you doing?
Thank you for asking. That's a good day today, isn't it? Nice and cloudy for a Melbourne day, but it's nice when it rains too. Yeah, I'm good. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you.
We've got two wonderful guests today.
We do. Today we have two guests from the Summer Foundation, Housing Options. Good morning, Sinead, and good morning, Belinda.
Morning, Julie. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine, and thank you again for accepting our invitation on the Your Life, Your Voice project. So we really believe and passionate about housing options for people with disabilities, and as we all know, stability is really important. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So would we like to kick off some questions? So would either one of you, would you like to tell us a little bit about your housing journey?
Okay, I'll kick off with this one. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us here today, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you a little bit about my housing journey. I'll take you way back to the start. I grew up in the country, so my parents owned the home that I grew up in, which made it a little bit easier. Because I just for to say as well, I am a wheelchair user, so housing can be a bit of an issue sometimes because I do need access. So luckily growing up, my parents owned our home and my father was a builder. So any modifications that need to be done, he was able to do that for us. But when I started university, I had to move to Melbourne. And that's where a lot of my problems started because I had to live in rentals. And it's really, really difficult to find rentals that are accessible for a wheelchair. And it's also difficult to make any modifications to rentals because you don't own the home. So you have to always get permission if you need to do anything. And often you don't get that permission. So the only thing I was really able to do with our homes that we lived in the city was put in a removable ramp. So just an external ramp that we could remove at any stage if we had to leave. And we did have to leave quite a few times because our landlords would always sell the house. So we're always trying to find new rentals that were accessible. But the thing for me is I always wanted to live on my own and have my own place, as many adults do. I mean, you grow up and you want your own space. But when you're disabled, it can be difficult to have your own place, to have your own space. But about 3 years ago, so 2018, early 2018, I just happened to be at a hospital doing an unrelated research project. And I spoke to a social worker at the hospital there. And I will just talking about the NDIS because at that time, I'd just been rejected for the NDIS, even though I'm a wheelchair user and quite suitable for it. And she just asked me, what is the main goal? What did I want to do? What did I want in my life? And I said, I've always wanted to live on my own. And I had my own apartment. I never ever dreamt it would be possible. Because it just never was up until that point. But she told me about Specialist Disability Accommodation, which I'd never heard of. And that was like housing that was designed for people in a wheelchair. And I thought that'd be great. And mostly they're apartments, which is what I really want. I wanted an inner city apartment. That was my dream, to have like the city life, because I'd been living in the outer suburbs. So yeah, a couple of weeks later, after being in the hospital and speaking to her, she sent me a link to a specialist disability accommodation apartment that was in my area. And I thought, oh, this is great. So I did a little bit more research and found that they had an inner city development as well, which I thought, amazing. This is exactly where I want to go. Have my own apartment in the inner city, that'd be incredible. So I actually contacted the developer for these apartments, and they put me at that stage in contact with the Summer Foundation, which is my first time knowing about the Summer Foundation. And they helped me with a housing goal, which is what you need to go to the NDIS with, which is just like stating where you want to live and how you want to live, things like that. And also she put me in contact with some support coordinators that were experiencing housing. So that was great. I got my support court, got on the NDIS, which is the most important thing. And I had my housing goal. And my support coordinator helped me through the process. And yeah, I ended up getting approved for SDA and did end up getting the apartment in the inner city, which I wanted. So yeah, my experience was great in that sense that I had the difficult time with rentals, and then once I got my SDA approval, I was able to get the apartment that I really wanted in the place that I really wanted. So it's been great to this point.
So you're a city chick now.
I'm a city chick, living the city life. Yeah. Well, when we're not in lockdown, I'm living the city life, but
Yeah.
a little bit difficult at the moment.
Yeah, that's amazing because yeah, I've always wanted to live in the city also, but our prices were out of my range, quite honestly. So it's good to see that people can have a dream, a big dream, and achieve
Yeah.
that dream. So I'm sure that the steps that you took contributed a lot with a little bit of support from the Summer Foundation. So that's really a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to acknowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. It was those early days with the Summer Foundation who helped me with my housing goal, sort of explain what I wanted out of housing, like where I want to live, how I want to live, the supports I would need to be able to live the life I want. And those things are very important to think about. And I guess I had a few years to think about where I wanted to live and how I wanted to live, but just to put that into words and get my head around, even just getting my head around the thought that it was possible. You know, we say believe better is possible, and it's true, it is. But at first I had to get my head around knowing that I could get that dream happening. So it was good to have that early support. And the support through the whole process too. I think it's very important to have that support as well.
It's essential, isn't it, Belinda, to have
Yeah.
that dream? Because housing is like one of the main areas of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We all need to feel secure and safe in our own places and abodes and things like that. So I can see how that was something that you dreamt of, and it's come true. And I'm so happy for you that has been your reality.
I think your house is your base.
Yeah.
So you have that base to be able to live the rest of your life. You have plenty of dreams. So, but one of them is your house, that is your base, and then you can go off and look at careers, look at ways to live in your community and things like that. That you have that base to be able to explore all these other opportunities as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to highlight is the organisation that we're a part of, Diversity and Disability. It's a self-advocacy program, And Belinda, you just fit the profile so well. You advocate for the things that you needed, and then with a little bit of support,
Yeah,
manage this really wonderful dream. It's your reality.
yeah, yeah.
So
And advocacy is really great as well, because you do need that support. You do need someone to speak to about the process. There's a lot of processes and it can get confusing. So it's always good to have that support around you, whether it's advocacy, whether it's support coordination, and it could be all of those things. Um, that's good to have in your corner.
yes,
Yeah,
that's such an inspiring story, and yes, and yeah, and Glee's 100% right. With once you get your housing sorted out and it's secure, it's stable, it's everything you've dreamed of, then you can move on to other parts of your life.
yeah,
The fun parts, living your life as you see fit, and not having that pressure of landlords, changing their minds, and not having those pressures of having adjustments done to your apartment that
yeah.
are that are needed. So that must be a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, it is. But SEAs are long-term accommodation option. So you do have that security that this is your place. And you're not, I know I'm not going to have to look for another place in 2 years' time because my landlord wants to sell the place or move somewhere else and wants to get rid of it, whatever the reasons are. This is a long-term solution. And it does feel great to have that. I guess it's like a safety net. I know I'm not going to have to look for somewhere else to live, and
Yeah,
that the stress of doing that it's huge. But you just never know if you're going to find a place,
yeah,
because accessibility in rentals, especially mainstream rentals, is just it's so bad, because every place seems to have steps or it's double stories and things like that. So to have the security of tenure is such a relief.
yeah. I did some research last year about the future of accessibility, really. And now there's like a new buzzword coming around in the public policy. So we all know accessibility was the word previously. Now the new term, which I really am really excited about, is universal accessibility, because when we say accessibility, people immediately think of disability, but universal access covers from birth to death.
Mhm.
So it covers, people, the age,
Yeah,
disability, and it's not implied in the word that it's disability focused. So I'm really excited for that change to happen.
yeah,
With words and terms and stuff, they evolve over time. So yeah, so I'm really pushing for the universal concept to be more of the buzzword.
yeah. Well, accessibility is universal. I mean, even able-bodied people sometimes don't want to walk up a flight of stairs. Things like that. It's for everybody.
Okay.
Does that also mean, like I'm thinking as we're talking and discussing universal accessibility, does that also mean that like people with access, things are marginalized and say they're about 10-20% of the population? But when you make it universal, does that then mean that the people who have no problem, who've got a high income, who can afford housing options, are they in the universal accessibility too? And is that fair?
I, I, I believe that it's a better word, it's a better model, because because it covers from birth to death. And so, it's all inclusive. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah, and yeah, so yeah, I truly believe it's a better model. I suppose we can debate it, but yeah, that's my feeling.
Yeah.
I'm sort of looking at it in terms, I guess, of being able to get into buildings, things like that. In terms of accessibility, I suppose it's a different sort of aspect of accessibility, but any buildings with ramps is great for me.
Yeah, I think there's a comment made from another interview that we were on with Amida, who is another housing advocacy program that assists low income and people with disabilities who are marginalised. So there are going to be changes to the building code, and so yeah, I'm not sure whether it covers the older buildings, which seem to be a real issue for people. Uh, so yes, yeah, I just hope that the older buildings are looked at and ramps and accessibility issues are addressed. I've got a feeling from past interviews that they're looking at that option to address older buildings and to make them more accessible. Because we all use, public buildings and stuff. So that would be a great outcome for everyone.
Yeah.
So would we like to move on, Linda? So what is happening now in the housing market for people with disabilities? And either of you can take up this question.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. I might jump in on this one. So I think we've touched on it a lot with Belinda's story, but I guess to give sort of what that looks like is quite exciting at the moment in the housing market with people with disabilities. So if you're on the NDIS, there are quite a lot of different choices that are becoming available, and that's right across Melbourne, so including the northwest Melbourne area. And this is called Specialist Disability Accommodation, or a lot of people sort of refer to as SDA for short. So what SDA is a house, apartment, or other type of dwelling which has been designed for people who need quite a lot of support. So SDA allows people to live independently as possible, depending on, I guess, who the SDA is designed for. It might have wide doorways, it might have a hoist in the bedroom, it might have strong walls or windows that won't get damaged, or it might have some specialized technology. I actually have one example of one of the specialist disability accommodation apartments located in Moonee Ponds, which I'll show you. So these, I'll just share my screen.
Sure. Do I have to make you co-host for that? No.
Potentially, has it something come through on your side?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, great. So this apartment is located in Moonee Ponds. So it's suitable for people who rely on a lot of assistive technology or equipment, for example, an electric wheelchair. So this apartment is also suitable for people who want to live alone, and they have connection to smart technology, which enables people to access support when required. So I'll just stop sharing that screen and give you sort of a virtual tour. Let me just bring this up. So if you can see, sort of the apartment, I'll just take you through. So this is the kitchen area, and it goes down to the bedroom, which has access to the bathroom. And the apartments are quite spacious. So in terms of, I guess, having your equipment put somewhere and not sort of overcrowding or feeling like you can't sort of move around the apartment. This is through to the lounge room and then through to the balcony as well. So I know with this apartment, they also have an accessible pool on site as well, and a shared area for tenants. So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah, so that's one of the many sort of options that are available for people who are on the NDIS. And I think Belinda's going to speak more to, I guess, maybe the costs around what that might look like.
Yeah, because you probably look at that apartment and think, oh, it's amazing, and it is. But, oh, how much does it cost? But the beauty about SDA is that it is quite affordable. For people who are, you've got to be on the NDIS to be able to access it. Because one of the things that you get is called SDA funding. And the SDA funding is paid by the NDIA to the SDA provider, and that comes out of your plan. And the amount depends on the type of dwelling you live in and where it is. So it does vary, but it's all based on where the apartment is or the house is or the villa. It can be a couple of different housing types, and like how many residents are in the apartment or dwelling as well. But in terms of what you pay, is you pay as the individual, you pay what's called a reasonable rent contribution, and that's limited to 25% of the DSP, disability support pension, plus 100% of rental assistance, which is another Centrelink payment. So it is quite affordable. I find it quite affordable, and what you get in the apartment is amazing because, for example, in my apartment, for that, I've got my benches and my bathroom vanity are at the height that I need. So before I moved in, it was all measured to the height that I needed in my wheelchair. I do have assistive technology because I quite rely on that because I'm unable to open hinge doors, things like that, or open and close blinds. So my technology allows me to, and when I say technology, it's connected to my phone or connected to an iPad. So I can use either, and I can open and close the front door, open and close my blinds, turn the lights on and off. I can do all that just with the push of a button. And I can also call, we have on-site assistance. So in my apartment building, there's 6 SDA apartments, and there's a 7th apartment which has a support worker in at all times. So I can buzz the support worker if I don't have planned supports and say I just want a cup of coffee or something like that. I'm unable to make it myself, so I just buzz support and they can come in and help me with whatever I need at the time. I also can use my phone to access the lifts, so I don't need to press the buttons on the lift if I'm unable to. So I can use my phone to call the lift and go to whatever floor, and they're usually ground floor and up to my apartment. So the assistive technology is really great in these apartments, and it is quite affordable when you're on the DSP, and yeah, through the NDIS, it's quite affordable. I think I find it affordable.
Well, when you look at private accommodation being, you know, who knows, like 700-800 and
Yeah,
issues that go with it, with private rentals, it's very affordable. And you know, I come from a coal background, and who, you know, sometimes have lots of barriers to, you know, people's opinions and what people with disabilities can achieve and what they can do
Yeah.
in life. So I'm so, you know, I'm so privileged to be able to show people like you and
Mm.
others in this program, the possibilities of living an independent life,
Yeah.
which as adults, yeah, it's very important for for all of us, and you know, even for, you know, future planning for people with disabilities, and just gaining that experience, you know, while your family, while your parents or your supporters are alive, to give them peace of mind, yeah, to give
Yeah.
them, like, you know, the knowledge that, you know, my child will be fine, you know,
Yeah. Which
because,
is
you know,
important.
yeah, it's important for the parents or the caregivers
Mhm.
to understand that in Australia we have such a great welfare safety net, which, you know, in their countries, really a lot of countries don't have that in Europe. So,
Yeah.
so that's really important. Um, really important to have people showcase
Yeah.
these these stories. So, do we have any other comments, Colette, at all?
I was just really like, I'm just trying to work out how much accommodation is there out there in, like, maybe people watching this might go, yeah, that'd suit me. Like Belinda, I'd like to have one too. And like, is there a waiting list, or is there sort of do you have to know someone to explain these sort of hidden gems out there? Like, how does it work?
Do you want,
Um,
I was going to say, do you want to talk about the availability, Sinead?
yeah, so I guess, for example, the Moonee Ponds apartment, that's available on a website called the Housing Hub, which is essentially like a search engine. So I guess think of realestate.com, for example. And then from there, apartments such as the Moonee Ponds one, if a person is interested, but they're not sure potentially if they might be eligible or what the process is, that's sort of where our team can come in and help people sort of understand what SDA is, sort of work with them to see if it's something that they might be eligible for, and what sort of documentation or evidence would be needed to be presented to the agency. In terms of, I guess, what you mentioned before, finding these gems, it really is sort of making people aware of places such as the Housing Hub, and really getting that across, that there is sort of those accessible websites there that will allow you to sort of put in your own preferences, and you get alerted sort of based on that, rather than trying to, I guess, navigate what must be sort of at times a complicated space to find something that might be suitable. So yeah, I guess it is sort of having that connection as well, support coordinators or case managers, sort of going back to Belinda's story and how she was able to start that journey, I guess.
It was when I first started looking, there wasn't a lot available, but it is growing a lot now, and it's all around Australia too. So someone in Melbourne may think, you know, I'm kind of sick of living in Melbourne. It's not that warm. I want to go to Brisbane. There's always that possibility as well.
So it's national. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's Brisbane, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, and there's some in the ACT as well. So it's growing nationally. If you go to the Housing Hub, you can actually see a lot of the places around Australia that are available at the moment.
Yeah, and I think on that, I think at the moment, there's over 1,200 properties that are listed there. So that's sort of across Australia, as Belinda was saying.
Sinead, is where if someone was looking at this, where is the eligibility criteria written? Do they have to go to the housing hub, or how does that step, how do people go from that first step of thinking about things? Like, where would they find that information?
Well, we do have quite a lot of resources available on the Housing Hub website. So in addition to it being, I guess, a search engine, it also has everything that you need to know in terms of eligibility and what the processes are. So we've got videos sort of explaining what SDA is and the eligibility. And then we have an SDA sort of process resource, which sort of gives you a step-by-step guide in terms of what needs to be done. But our team's always there as well to help sort of at any step of the way. But yeah.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
How positive and inspiring. This is awesome. I can see lots of people like Belinda's dreams come true. Yeah.
The first time I heard about SDAs, I was so excited. You know, and which is actually through this program of research, through this program with another speaker. And yeah, it's because I know people, you know, who have the funds to buy their own home, but to actually, you know, have a public funded, you know, SDA accommodation, it's just magnificent. So I do know that you guys are on a time schedule. So I'll just go through the questions. If we've covered them, I think we've covered some of them. So if you're not someone who has this level of need, and this is SDA need, what else can you do to find suitable accommodation?
So the NDIS can help with a variety of housing supports. For example, you mentioned people who have the funding to own their own home. So if they do own their own home, you can go through the NDIS to help pay for modifications. And this could also be if you already own your own home, maybe you've acquired a disability and you need changes to be made to your home. You can get that assistance with the NDIS as well to help accommodate you in your own home. You can also get assistance with daily living, so there's like getting support workers into your house to help you with your personal needs, such as showering, getting out of bed, meal prep, things like that you may need assistance with. And they also help pay for things like support coordination. So support coordinators can help you maybe find a property that would be suitable for you if you don't qualify for SDA. And you can also get specialist tenancy support to help you manage a tenancy in rental places. So these supports can help a large number of people get access to housing. But you previously haven't had the support to live independently or keep their tenancy. So there are quite a lot of different supports in the NDIS that people may not be aware of. I definitely wasn't aware of all that was available when I first got on the NDIS, so it was a bit of a, it definitely did open my eyes to what was possible. So yeah, and you know, you can give us a call at the Housing Hub as well, and we can help you go through those processes. And there's also some great resources, like Sinead said, on the website that can help with different things as well, and what supports that are available out there.
Any other comments, Güler?
I'm just looking it up if I can find it. What I'm looking up is a phone number or some sort of, no, I can't find it. I was going to try and bring up
I've got a slide with with our contact details if you want me to
yes,
share my screen.
awesome right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I can read the phone number out as well. It is, I think Sinead's got, going to bring it up, but it's 1300 616463.
Do you see?
Yep, we can see it. Yep. And Sinead's email is there as well.
So it's Sinead, SINEAD MCKEE at summerfoundation.org.au.
Yep, that's right. I also might show you, just while I have the slides up, if that's all good, what the homepage looks like. So this is sort of the homepage of the Housing Hub. And I know we spoke a lot before, sort of Summer Foundation and Housing Hub. So the Housing Hub is an initiative of the Summer Foundation, and this is sort of where people are able to search for homes. And at the top here is also where you can find the resources as well. So with the Housing Hub, what you can do is you can set up a seeker profile. So this is basically where you tell the Housing Hub what you're looking for and what's important to you. And then you will be able to get customized alerts that sort of are based on your preferences. So that sort of takes a lot of the work out in terms of trying to navigate and look at the different listings. So you can tell the Housing Hub sort of where you want to live, who you want to live with, and what design features you might need as well. Yeah, so that's sort of, the Housing Hub has a lot sort of to it. So we kind of spoke about the resources, the seeker profile as well. And Belinda, I think also the other resources that we have are the workshops as well, which might be beneficial to people sort of wanting to know more.
Yeah, we do have free workshops that people can come along to. At the moment, they're mainly online because of lockdowns and that. So you can access them from around Australia, but these are workshops that are created by people with a disability for people with a disability. And you'll have one of our lived experience facilitators at the workshop as well, who most of us have had had experience with negotiating our own housing journey. So these workshops will help you learn a bit more about SDA, learn a bit more about the Housing Hub and seeker profiles, and you'll be also able to ask questions to lived experience facilitators who have had the experience of negotiating their housing. So they're really great value to come along to, and just to learn more about SDA and to ask any questions that you may have as well. And there is also a digital workshop that we have online as well, which you can do in your own time. It's not one that you have to be somewhere at a certain time. You can work through it at your own pace. And that also goes through all housing options. So a lot of it is SDA, but also talks about private rentals and social housing as options as well. And in that one, you can also learn about writing your own housing goal, which is something that you need to do with the NDIA if you do want to look into different housing options. So they're quite useful and fun. We hope everyone has a bit of fun and learns a lot too with our workshops.
So I think the key is that the key is to know what your goal is. If it's housing goals, then NDIA help you out. But if you haven't mentioned that in your goal, then they won't be able to.
No, they need to know that you do want to move. You do have a housing, I guess a housing dream that you can put into a goal, like I want to live here, I want to live by myself, or maybe you want to live with a mate. There's all different options. With SDA as well, you can live with like another NDIS participant and in all that as well. So there are different options. I personally want to live on my own, so I put that into my housing goal and got my own apartment through that. Yeah.
And I've heard with other interviews is that we've done quite a few interviews around housing in this series. I believe that if there's someone in the community that's a friend or someone in your network, that there could be like rental concessions made in exchange for a little bit of support that they give their housemates. So I think that's a really good option.
Yeah.
Could be a good option for some people.
Yeah, there's things called ILOs or independent living options that look at different types of support that you may need in your home and different ways of it coming about. Like you mentioned, you may live with someone who gets a little bit of rental assistance in that way, that they have to also provide support at various times to the other tenant, to you as a person with a disability. So yeah, there's quite a lot of different support models to go with housing models. Yeah, which is good because it provides a lot of different options and flexibility as well, which is also something you do need, that flexibility to be able to live the life that you want to, because not everything's constant. You need a little bit of change every now and then. So these these options do exist out there, and they're good to look at as well.
Well, my first introduction to education is knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I held that in my heart for a very long time. And it couldn't be any truer. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And with these resources that you guys have, so you guys would have quite extensive knowledge of all the options, because someone may not think of living with a friend or someone that they'd like that's got a bit more independence. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. And you learn about these things too in our workshop, and you can ask questions. If people do want to come to one of our workshops, we do have one next Friday, not Friday coming up, but the one after on the 20th. But if you can't come to that, we do have ongoing workshops, and they're really good to ask these sort of questions about what is available. This is my dream, is it possible? Ask questions like that. Just dream big, and see what's possible. Ask questions. Like you say, knowledge is key. It's knowing what's out there is really good. So yeah.
I've got a mentor for 12 years all my life. So you aim for the stars, and you might hit the moon. But if you aim low, you can only, maybe, not achieve what you're really capable of. So, I use this in with a lot of young people. Because that's what I truly believe. You aim high, high in life, and you just might get there. You just might really surprise yourself.
Yeah. Believe anything. I was just going to say, believe anything is possible.
Yes, absolutely. With our vision for D&D, it's Your Life, Your Voice. It's called that for a reason. And with other sectors of disability, there's also a mantra, nothing about us without us.
Yeah.
So you guys, Summer Foundation, really encapsulate those sayings really well. Any other comments from anyone?
I'll just say, we do have talked about SDA as being something that is useful if you're in a wheelchair. So if you're a wheelchair user, but it can be also available for people who don't use a wheelchair, but have a high level of support needs. So if you have over 6 hours of support needs and may need a customised home, and I'll give the example of perhaps someone who's visually impaired needs a customised home to be easily able to get around. That's also possible. You may also be eligible for SDA. So if you are disabled and you think you do have high support needs and a customised home would be great for you, just get in contact with us and we can take you through the process and see if you are eligible for SDA.
Yeah, that's really useful. That's really useful information.
Have you had much experience with getting people with a culturally and linguistically diverse background? Like, what are the percentages of mainstream people or people with a CULT background using the services?
Do you have any data on that, Sinead?
Not to hand, but I think it is definitely an interesting question that I can sort of look into further and see what with our research team to see if they have any sort of information around that. I think from my experience, I guess when people sort of do call in and inquire about the different properties, generally when the people that I sort of worked with from a CULT background, it's really been dependent on the support coordinators. Sort of that's been my experience anyway. But I guess not having that sort of research around that, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how do people get access? And like earlier, it was mentioned that knowledge is power. So I guess it's, this is one way you can let people know coming onto our program and talking.
Your support coordinator as well. If you do have a support coordinator, especially if they're experienced with housing, we do have webinars for support coordinators and allied health professionals to educate them and let them know about SDA and what is required to go forward with the housing plan. So there are support coordinators who are either experienced in housing or are educating themselves in what needs to be done with housing. So I think it's really important and really good to have a support coordinator to help you through the process as well.
That's
these resources that you mentioned, the webinars and the online workshops, are they recorded? Do they go on demand?
No, we don't. I don't think they're recorded. Like I said, we do have a digital workshop that is online that people can work through at their own pace, which has quite a lot of information about SDA, also other housing options, but there is quite a lot of information there as well, and they can be accessed at any time through our website as well. And that there's a lot of information there. So it's helpful also for people with disability and their support teams.
Okay. Well, you guys have come to the end of your time with us. I'd like to thank Belinda and Sinead for being with us today.
Thank
We
you,
have to talk offline because I do support a number of cold groups, and maybe we could have you in talking about housing options. And I do talk to people about, I'm really passionate about future planning, and a lot of co-parents do have anxieties of, what's going to happen to my loved one when I'm not around, and these sort of issues. So I'll speak to you offline about whether we can get you in, whether it's a workshop, a face-to-face workshop, or something online. And thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
And thank you for educating everyone and letting us know what's out there. It makes the world a smaller place, not too big and difficult.
Yeah. No, thank you. It was a pleasure chatting with you today. And yeah, if anyone likes to give us a call or contact us, it'd be great to help them along with the journey.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if anybody has any questions, no matter how big or small it is, feel free to email me as well or give us a call. Honestly, anything that we can do to help people, I guess, on their journey, we're here to do it.
Have you got that slide handy by any chance, Belinda? I mean, Sinead?
Yeah, let me get that up again.
That way we'll make sure people don't have to rewind backwards or something. Yeah.
Or you can leave us a message on demand on our comment section, and we'll be happy to forward the information to you via email.
Okay, so leave the details where, sorry?
We're on demand, so on our chat site. But you
Yeah.
can show the slide again, Sinead.
Yeah, so I'll just bring that up again, and then I'll do that as well.
So it's 1300 616463. Sinead, SINEAD.McKee, MCKEE @summerfoundation.org.au, or check out the Housing Hub, www.housinghub.org.au.
Great. So stop sharing. Thank you for that. So yeah, give us a call.
So thank you very much for being with us. We have to do a few more things now. You're quite welcome to leave the program, and we'll be in contact soon. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So, Güler, we're still online. We're still
Yes.
live. So, what a great conversation that was.
Awesome. It was so it was really important. It's almost like I want to put stars around this program, well, the whole program, because we've got so many awesome advocacy people coming into our YouTube show, which is awesome. Like all this stuff.
Yes, like I've said online to ladies, it's challenging finding speakers, but so worthwhile. And it's worth the wait in waiting and chasing people up, and and getting those questions happening. Because everything in life is a conversation, I believe. And yes, in a past life, I was that wasn't really appreciated, because as you can see, I can talk a lot, and so in a very past life, it wasn't always appreciated. So my inquisitive nature was sort of like a bit of a hindrance for some people. Anyway, so which is perfect for a YouTube channel, because I can talk underwater. Anyway,
Good.
so anyway, we haven't done the acknowledgement of country, and
True.
so do we want to show some videos first? Or do
Well, we've only got to be honest, we've got 5 minutes for the program. So if we go to a video, we can do that and then come back and do the acknowledgement, or what would you like to do?
Well, I would say that, do we have time for video?
I don't know.
Okay, we can choose a short video, maybe a couple of minutes.
They don't really give the times on the website, unless I go into it.
Okay.
Let's look at Helen Caligari. Let's have a look. Can you share screen with me? Can you give me power to share screen?
Sure. I always have to figure out how to do this.
Okay, I think I can do it now. Here we
Okay.
go.
Cool.
You can see?
I can see.
Great.
My name's Helen. I'm a 46-year-old single barren spinster, and I identify as having had a brain injury all my life. I have been living independently since I was 19 and only found out about my brain injury when I was 34 years old. I think there have been times in my life where clutter has been maybe part of my brain injury and I was unaware. Just maybe things were going on that I was unaware of, and that was the fallout of things. But now that I have some eyesight issues and I'm one-handed, clutter is really important because I need to know where things are and things need to have a place because then I can find them again. I've only been where I'm living for a year and a half. I moved from a 3-bedroom unit, which felt like a house. There was grass, I could see the street if I didn't want to go outside. And I'm relocated because the rent was too high. It just kept creeping up even though I'd been a good tenant. And I moved from there also because my landlord started to get a bit, let's say a bit handsy and a bit suggestive. So it was safer for me to move. It was time. And I couldn't explain to my own mother how inappropriate he had been, because the way my mother would have dealt with it was completely different to the way I deal with it. And she would have done it in a way that would have been more trouble. So I relocated to an apartment, and it's a smaller apartment, not far away, but it saved me $80 a week. And in some ways I have more independence and other ways I don't. So it's been a bit of give and take, but I'm further away from my supports. I actually rent an NRES property. It's part of the affordability scheme, and the landlords get, there are all the new builds that are being developed everywhere. There's a certain number of apartments that are allocated to affordability. People on low income, might be single parents, people that just, have to indicate how little money they earn. And I was really lucky to get a property. I didn't get the first property I applied for with them. They're all over the place. So it's not just where I am. There's 7 apartments in the block I'm in, but they're all over the place. And they're usually advertised online in amongst all the other properties, and they'll indicate that it's an NRAS property and that you have to indicate your income. So every year I have to provide my financials so I can continue to be eligible. Knowing that people love you in the world is the most empowering thing, because everybody deserves love. It's the most humane thing we can do for each other, is just love each other. You have to give everything to everybody, but knowing that you are loved means you don't feel alone.
Okay.
I have never met Helen. That was so empowering, and what I didn't like about the system that Helen is in is that it's income based,
Mm.
and that could be a trap. If you do want to work a bit more, why should your housing options be compromised? So that's what I took out of that, and the fact that she didn't know she had a brain injury until much later. That's quite amazing information.
Mm. Mm. Yes.
So we like to go to the acknowledgement of country first.
Oh. Do you want me to share screen or?
Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay, you can do it then.
Yep. Here we go. Acknowledgement of country. D&D Your Life, Your Voice project acknowledge the traditional owners of the land to which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. We remember all self-advocates who have worked hard over the years for the rights of themselves and other people with disabilities and human rights for all. Nothing about us without us.
So would you like to bring up the funding body?
Do you want to talk to this one?
I will.
Yep.
D&D would like to thank the Migrant Resource Centre Management for their support they give to the D&D Your Life, Your Voice project. This channel is funded by the MRC, Migrant Resource Centre. We would like to thank them for providing funding for this progressive out-of-the-box project, especially in these times, living through the pandemic. Victoria is currently in its 6th lockdown, and we acknowledge that it's been difficult for people with disabilities living in isolation, and this channel is especially for them. And then the next sessions will provide information and support on COVID-19 and lockdown. We'd like to thank our guest speaker for today, and this project would like your ideas on what NUS topics and guest speakers you would like Your Life, Your Voice to explore. Please feel free to email us on dndyourlifeyourvoice@gmail.com. That brings us to the end of our program, Güler. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, and I hope our audience got a lot out of it.